Imagine if one small story could change the way you view life today. Imagine if in just 2 minutes, your heart felt lighter, more peaceful, and more courageous in facing any age. This is a gentle invitation to those of you who want to feel again that life is still beautiful, still full of meaning, and still worth celebrating. As we age, the world may feel like it's moving too fast. But here, we slow down. We listen, we feel, we remember, and we smile together. This short story takes you on a warm journey, a journey of regret that turns into wisdom, of loneliness that slowly finds light, of the courage to say, I'm still here, and my life still has meaning. You'll hear voices close, gentle, and full of empathy. Voices that seem to speak to your heart. It's okay if your journey is slow. It's okay if you've made mistakes. It's okay if you're still learning even in your old age. You'll feel the warmth of self-acceptance, the beauty of remembering the past with peace, the serenity of looking to the future without fear, the comfort of knowing you're not alone. Each word is designed like a gentle handshake, inviting you to sit for a moment, take a deep breath, and say, I deserve to be happy, at any age. And maybe, you'll ask yourself, what if this story is also about me? What would happen if I watched it all the way through? What can I learn before it's too late? Those questions will be answered in a series of tender, human, and deeply relatable stories for older viewers around the world. This isn't just a show. This is a home, a place for the heart to rest, remember, and heal. Welcome. Come along on a little journey that could warm your days ahead. There is one thing that often comes to my mind every morning when I wake up slowly, open the curtains, and see the first rays of sunlight touch the floor. At 85 years old, I often ask myself, if I could rewind my life, what part of it would I most want to change? That question knocks on my heart every day. And the answer is always the same, but not a big, dramatic one. It's not about money. It's not about work. It's not about big decisions like moving countries or choosing a partner. My answer actually comes from small things, things I once took for granted, but they have cast a long shadow throughout my life. Before we get into the story, I want to invite you to help this channel grow. Just like, subscribe, and share this video. Your support is like a warm cup of tea in my hand, small, simple, but comforting. Now, let's begin this story, with a heart that is slowly opening itself. The worst decision of my life was letting time pass without truly being there for the people who loved me. 1. I lived too much in my head, not in my heart. For years, I thought that life was a race that I had to win. I'm always busy thinking about what's right, what should, and what's obligatory. I rarely stop to enjoy the little things. Imagine someone on a long journey through beautiful scenery. But they're so focused on the map that they forget to see the mountains, lakes, and blue sky all around them. That's me. My life was going on, but I wasn't really seeing it. 2. I thought the people I loved would always be there. This is the part one regret the most. I realized too late that the people around us aren't like books on a shelf that we can open anytime. Their lives change too. They grow, they leave, they age. They get busy, and sometimes, they're gone before we have a chance to say a few important words. Unfortunately, I often say, later, next time I call. I'll visit tomorrow. But tomorrows sometimes turn into weeks. Weeks turn into years, until finally, I stare at the empty chair and say to myself, why didn't I come sooner? 3. I too often choose solitude, even though my heart doesn't want to be alone. I thought silence meant being strong. I thought not asking for company meant being independent. But later I understood that solitude is like a large, windowless room, quiet, but cold. If I'm honest, I regret this decision. I rarely say, please stay with me for a moment. Even though that one sentence can open a very large door. Life has taught me something. We can walk alone, but that doesn't mean we have to. Imagine a large park in the afternoon. Golden light falls through the trees. There's an empty bench in the middle. I often sit on a bench like that, and think. Why didn't I sit with the people I love more often? Why did I leave that bench empty so often? An empty chair may seem ordinary, but as time passes, we realize that chair is an opportunity. And opportunities don't always come around. To those of you watching now, whether you're 60, 70, 80, or even older, life can still feel vast. It can still feel warm. It can still feel meaningful. It's never too late to send a text, pick up the phone, invite someone for a walk, or simply say, "I'd like to meet." You don't have to make a big change. Just one small step, one short conversation, one smile. Those small steps are like tiny candles, and together, they can light up an entire room. Now, as I sit at 85, I understand something I didn't when I was younger. Human warmth is more valuable than all my accomplishments. And presence is more important than perfection. If you're watching this alone, I want to say something very quietly. You're not alone. You can still open the door. You can still make today warmer than yesterday. I appreciate it more than I can express. Stay calm. Stay warm. Keep opening up space in your heart. Next, we'll discuss how a small conversation, often considered insignificant, can actually change the course of a person's life in old age. Before we delve deeper, let's start with a simple illustration. Imagine you're sitting in a quiet cafe on a city street. In front of you is a cup of hot beverage, and outside the window are people walking slowly. Nothing major happens, but suddenly someone sits down next to you and says, "How was your day?" A small question. A simple sentence. But for many of us older people, that sentence is like a small light turned on in a long dark room. I want to share how one such conversation changed the way I view life at 85. 1. A conversation I didn't expect came from an unexpected direction. Several years ago, I used to sit alone in my front yard. Every afternoon, I'd watch people pass by, neighbors, children playing, or just the wind blowing fallen leaves. One day, a young man who lived on the next street walked by and said, "Sir, the weather is beautiful, isn't it?" That was it. 5 simple words, but I still remember them to this day. Not because the sentence was extraordinary, but because it was the first time someone had spoken to me that day. I hadn't realized how quiet my world had been, until a small voice entered. It was like opening a window after it had been closed for a long time. A breath of fresh air entered, and I realized I needed it. 2. We never know who turns on the light for us. That small conversation made me smile. And the next day, I hoped he'd pass by again, not because I wanted a long conversation, but because I felt seen. In old age, one of the hardest things is when we feel like we're in the background. Life goes on, but we feel less visible. But I learned from that young man. A single greeting can make someone feel present in the world. Like when the park lights turn on automatically at dusk. It's small, but it makes the whole street seem more welcoming. 3. Small conversations can change the course of our lives. I started to think, if such a small conversation can warm my heart, maybe I can do the same for others. A few days later, when I was at a small shop near my house, I tried to say something to the cashier. "Have a nice day." The cashier was taken aback for a moment, then smiled. Her smile was genuine, and I felt as if I had just shed a little light on someone. I went home that day feeling lighter, like I'd rediscovered a small door in my life that had long been closed. 4. We don't have to do big things to change our lives. I used to think that change had to be big. You had to move cities. You had to make a big decision. You had to do something dramatic. But it turns out, change can come from something small. Like a 3-second conversation. That conversation is like a tiny seed falling into the ground. It doesn't seem special. It makes no sound. But slowly, it grows, and its presence changes the entire garden. So it is with our hearts. Imagine you're standing by a calm lake. The water is still, as if time has stopped. Then you drop a small stone onto the surface. The waves spread, slowly, but steadily, moving toward the shore. That's a simple conversation between 2 people. Sometimes it's not the words that matter, but the presence, the intention, and the fact that someone still cares enough to talk to us. To those of you watching this wherever you are, you may feel like the world is moving too fast. You may feel like your voice isn't being heard much anymore. But trust me, one sentence from you can still make someone's day better. And one sentence from someone else can still open your heart. If you don't know where to start, start small. The weather is nice today, huh? Have a nice day. Nice to see you. A simple sentence can be a bridge between two hearts that truly need each other. Of all the lessons I've discovered at 85, one of the most beautiful is this. We're never too old to reconnect with the world, and the world is never too busy to receive a single greeting from us. Don't underestimate the power of small conversations, because it's those small conversations that help me rediscover a sense of community, a sense of appreciation, and a sense of life. Stay warm, stay gentle with yourself, and keep opening the space for small conversations. Next, we'll discuss how silence, which sometimes comes uninvited, can be a place where we get lost, but it can also be a space to discover new strengths we've long forgotten. Let's start with a simple image. Imagine you're in an old house on a very quiet night. There's no television. There are no children's footsteps. Only the clock ticks softly. In moments like these, our hearts often speak louder than any other voice. And now, at 85, I realize that silence can be a friend. But it can also be a place where we drown, if we don't know how to understand its meaning. 1. Silence comes slowly, like a creeping dusk. Silence doesn't come like a great storm. It comes slowly. First, the house feels a little quieter. Then visits become less frequent. The phone rings less often. And finally, there are days when there's no sound but our own breathing. I used to dread that. I felt like I was in a vast field with no one around. Like standing on stage after the lights had gone out. But over time, I asked myself, is this silence really my enemy? 2. Silence can be a mirror that shows who we really are. One afternoon, I sat in a rocking chair by the window. The house was very quiet. No music, no conversation. Just me and my thoughts. In that moment, silence is like the surface of a still lake. When the water is still, we can see our reflection more clearly. And it was true. It was in the silence that I began to truly see myself. I saw my past unadorned. I saw my decisions without the excuses I had made up. Silence is like a teacher who doesn't speak, but teaches so much. 3. Silence can also be a bridge back to the world. There were days when I sat alone for so long, I felt a very real longing. A longing to hear a human voice. A longing to feel someone's presence. And you know what? That longing was incredibly strong. One morning, I said to myself, I have to get out. The world won't knock on my door if I don't open it. I walked to a small park near my house. No destination. No appointment. Just walking. There, I saw people smiling, chatting, and enjoying the morning air. I sat on a bench, and another grandmother sat beside me. Unconsciously, I said, the morning air feels different, doesn't it? She smiled, and we talked for a few minutes. That conversation, though brief, was like opening a large window in my heart. I went home that day feeling that the world still had room for me. 4. Silence teaches us to find small lights. I discovered something. In silence there is a door, and we choose whether that door is open to sadness or to healing. I started doing small things that warmed my heart. Sweeping the yard while enjoying the breeze. Writing 2 lines of notes every morning. Listening to the birds. Remembering happy moments. Sending a simple message to someone I miss. Small things are like lighting 1 candle at a time. They don't brighten the room much, but they're enough to see the path ahead. Imagine an old lighthouse by the sea. The night sea is dark and vast. A cold wind blows, but the lighthouse keeps its small light burning. It's not a big light, but it's enough to guide a lost ship. Our solitude is the sea, and those small lights are the simple actions we take to stay connected to the world. We all have that lighthouse. We just need to relight it. For those of you watching this, if your home feels too quiet, if your days feel long, if your nights feel empty, remember this: silence is not the end. Silence is just space. And you can fill that space with gentle things that strengthen your heart. You can fill that space with short conversations, a small step outside, the sound of nature, a simple note, a warm memory, a prayer or a hope, or simply a smile at someone you meet. It doesn't have to be anything big. Even small things are enough. At 85, I've learned that solitude doesn't always mean loss. Sometimes, solitude is an invitation to rediscover ourselves, to mend the broken pieces of our hearts, to realize how life can still feel tender, even in the lonely moments. May your day be peaceful, light, and filled with small lights guiding your steps. Have you ever felt a small moment that suddenly made your whole life seem clearer? It could be a simple greeting, a slow morning walk, or even a moment of solitude. Often, it's small moments like these that ultimately open the doors to our hearts. And before this video ends, I want to invite you to pause for a moment, just a moment, to feel what's emerging within you right now. Now, let's speak with a quieter heart. Throughout our life's journey, especially as our hair turns gray and our steps slow down, we often feel like the world is moving too fast. Sometimes we feel late. Sometimes we feel left behind. Sometimes we feel invisible. But today, I want to remind you of something very important. You still matter. You still have a light. And your presence still brings warmth to someone. Whether you live with family, live alone, or live in a quiet place, you still carry a precious story, a story no one else has. Life gives us many seasons, seasons of joy, seasons of loss, seasons of busyness, and seasons of silence. But each season holds a tender lesson. The older we get, the more it becomes clear that wisdom doesn't come from big things, but from the small steps we take with an open heart. If your day feels long, remember, you don't have to accomplish everything today. Just take one moment that warms your heart, whatever it is. Looking at the sky, listening to soft music, remembering someone, or simply placing your hand on your heart and saying, "I'm still here," and that's enough. Life in old age isn't the end of the story. It's the slowest chapter, the one that teaches us to love ourselves in a gentler, more honest, more human way. And I want to thank you, truly thank you, for choosing to watch until the end. Your presence here means a lot. You've accompanied not only this story, but also a heart that wants to share warmth. Before I close this video, let me leave you with one message. Continue to make room for the little lights in your life, because those little lights are what keep our days warm. And if you found this video to bring you even a little peace or inspiration, I would be so grateful if you could like, share, subscribe, leave a comment, and turn on the notification bell. Your support means a lot. It's what keeps this journey alive. Thank you for sticking with me until the end. May your day be peaceful, gentle, and filled with serenity. See you in the next video. Take care, and keep carrying your light wherever you go.